Hi, should you call yourself a front-end engineer, or should you call yourself a back-end engineer, or should you even call yourself a full-stack engineer? Well, what I will say to you is you need to really understand your skill sets before you tag yourself that particular name. In this video, we're going to be talking about why you shouldn't call yourself a full-stack engineer. But before then, let's dive in on a very short break. Welcome back. Well, talking about full stack engineer, sometimes we try to address ourselves in a particular way just because we want to get more credits or because we want people to give us respect, despite your reasons for wanting to call yourself a full stack engineer. One thing you need to consider is, do you really have the skill set that makes someone a front-end or back-end or full-stack engineer? The funny thing is, when you look at people who address themselves as a full-stack engineer, when you trace them very well, it will even be difficult to either say whether they are good with front-end or back-end. And realistically, for you to become a full-stack engineer, there are key skills that you need to have. And let us take a look at them one after the other. The first is you need to have both front-end and back-end skill set. But let us take a look at what is really front-end engineer's duty, like who are the front-end engineer. One thing we need to know is that before you can become a full stack, you either become a back-end engineer first, then at some point you move towards front-end, or you start from front end and you move to back end. You need to start somewhere. So you can't become a full stack developer from the beginning. It doesn't work. You have to either start from one of them, and over time you gain more skills and obtain all the required skills in order to become a full stack. Now, talking about full stack, let's talk about the front end. As a front end engineer, for you to be called a front-end engineer, it means that you know your HTML very well, you know your CSS, you know your JavaScript. Okay, let's even say that you're not very cool with any front-end framework. That's fine. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are core key factor of becoming a front-end engineer. Now, when you now know all of this, another thing to consider having to become a front-end engineer is your ability to understand accessibility. When people visit your site, people who can't see properly, can they consume the content just like other people? When people who have one deficiency or the other comes to the site, are they able to make use of your site as expected? These are things to consider as a front-end engineer. Okay, another thing to consider as a front-end engineer is your ability to use or to work with search engine optimization, SEO. You might ask, why is this coming in? The thing is, for every application you build, search engine is going to actually search for them at some point. Okay, so whatever you're building as a front-end engineer, is the search engine able to communicate with your application almost seamlessly? Do you understand things that need to be added to your pages or to your applications in order for the search engine to understand the initial intention of the application? These are a lot. And the reason why, as a front-end engineer, don't just focus on building web page and making it look beautiful. There are so many things that need to be added. There are so many things you need to pay attention to. And when you look at all these things, they are going to actually make you learn more. Now, that's on the aspect of a front-end engineer. Now let's talk about the back-end. Now, back-end engineers, they're always known for a set of people that deals with logic, database management, and also writing APIs, making sure that the site is secure, making sure that all the routings work as expected, making sure that when the user posts an information, it goes to the right data points. Also, when they're displaying the right content to the user, they're displaying the right content. All of these are a lot. So for you to call yourself a backend engineer, it means that you need to have a skill set that can effectively communicate with the machine, both from the client side and from the server side. An example of a server-side language can be Python, can be Ruby, can be Java, can be PHP. You don't have to know all of this technology to become a back-end engineer. However, one of them is enough. Take, for instance, you are very good with Python and you know how to write your logic perfectly on Python. So are you able to write logic, business logic that delivers the actual intent of the business owner? Are you able to write codes that communicate effectively with that of the front end? These are things to consider as a backend engineer. As a backend engineer, you're going to be handling several inputs from the user. You're going to be responding to the user immediately. Sometimes you have to do it in such a way that the users will get a prompt at a later stage. It all really depends on the context of that application. So as a backend engineer, the most of your work is making sure that the backend, the behind the scene, is actually working as expected. Now that you have an idea of these two skill sets, a front end and a back end, should you really call yourself a full stack engineer? Like, are you really a full stack engineer? Do you have this very skill sets? Are you able to work perfectly with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Do you have the right skill sets in any of the server programming language? These are the questions to ask. Trust me, if those things are not checked, I think you'd rather stop calling yourself a full stack developer. And our advice, just pick one stack. It can be front end or back end. Be so good at it, then at some point, try as much as you can to move to the other side. And in doing that, it's going to make you more effective and more reliable. Rather than somebody employing you as a full stack, and at the end, you struggle with HTML, just as basic as HTML, you struggle with it. Then you still struggle with the backend. So the moral of what I'm saying is, make sure that you keep your focus straight. Focus on one stack, either front end and transition to backend, or focus on backend and transition to front end. But do not start your learning curve painting yourself as a full stack dev. Because to become a full stack dev, you actually have to obtain these skills, and it's going to take your patience, commitment, and consistency in order for this to happen. At this point, let us wrap it up on this one. But before then, I just want you to understand whether you wish to become very good at front end or back end. intincthub got you covered. Just go ahead and visit skills.intincthub.com. There you'll see courses on our library, which can help you to become very effective both in front end and back end. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all our social media handles so that you can be notified every time we release a new tip. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one.